Hello everyone. My name is Ale. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you were already around here. Did you know that it takes 5 positive things to outweigh one single negative one? Now, let's start. Alright, so today we're gonna continue with last week's topic, which is social perception, nonverbal behavior, and all the components that come with them. So last week we talked about what nonverbal behavior was, what nonverbal communication and nonverbal cues were as well. So today we're gonna start with the evolutionary significance of facial expressions. For example, in an evolutionary setting, disgust will show that someone might be an enemy, that you don't like someone, that someone is not a friend, and that they maybe you should watch out for that specific person. Another example is the facial expression that we do when we feel fear. Fear prepares you for the fight or flight response from your body, and you will just widen out your eyes. There will be coming more air through your nose, and your eye movements will speed up when you feel fear. So that would be an adaptive behavior because it prepares you to running out, which means flight or fighting. And your facial expression changes, so you are the one that's preparing the other ones if you're the only one that knows about the possible outcome of a situation. But culture affects how facial expressions are interpreted. It depends a lot in your culture what facial gestures are accepted, what facial expressions, what emblems, what nonverbal communication, nonverbal cues. Believe it or not, it's really important which culture are you from. For example, in some cultures, it's more acceptable for women to display emotions than men, whether in other cultures, men can be as emotional as women. For example, in an individualistic culture, the display of emotions in public is more encouraged than in a collectivist culture. Why? Because in an individualistic culture, as the name says, is more drawn to the individual. And in collectivist cultures, the display of emotions in public is discouraged because they think that it may disrupt group harmony. So we already talked about facial expressions and display of emotions. Now let's talk about emblems. Now, emblems is a different nonverbal behavior. Emblems are non-verbal gestures that have a well understood definition, but hear me out, within a given culture. Emblems are specific from cultures, they are not universal. That's the important thing about them. And usually they have quick verbal translations, like an emblem would be this, that you know that someone makes this emblem and you know it means okay or it's okay. And even though you may think that this is universal, it is not. So if you like to travel a lot, make sure you know the emblems of that country. Make sure you know the emblems that you know from your country are the same in the other country, because if not, you may be giving the wrong message. So for example, let's put this to a test. If you are in a bar or in a restaurant or anything like that, and you want 3 beers, let's say 3 beers, how will you say to the bartender? Will you say, I want 3 beers? Or will you say, I want 3 beers, like this or like this? It depends on your cultural background how you will do the number 3. Now let me give you some more hand gestures, aka emblems, around the world for you to know. What does this sign mean, like this? In USA, this means okay. In Japan, this means money. In France, this means that you are a big zero. And in Brazil, this means an insult. Like in the USA, if you pull the middle finger, like kind of the same. Now, second gesture. What does this gesture mean to you? In USA, this means loser. And in China, this means the number 8. Now, third gesture, this one. We already talked about this one. We already know in USA, this means okay. In Latin America, Mexico, and pretty much all Latin countries, I think this also means okay. Maybe because we have acquired some gestures or words from USA. But in West Africa, this is an offensive gesture. Now we have fourth and last gesture for today. It would be this sign. Now, some people made it like this and some people do it like this. So for the US, we know that this means peace. And as I said before, Latin America, Mexico, and all those countries, we use it like this as well. But this means peace with your palm facing forward. But in the UK, if you do this with your palm facing backwards, it means an insult. So knowing that hand gestures can be very different depending on our culture, there's also many other nonverbal behaviors that have to do with your culture. Like, for example, eye contact, eye gaze, touching, and personal space. So let me give you some more facts that differ between cultures. So for example, in Western cultures, we expect that when we are talking to someone, they give you direct contact. You don't like, we don't like, I don't like. When I'm talking to someone and that person is not looking at me, and I don't think I'm the only one. Why is that? Because our culture is Western culture, individualistic culture. So we like speaking to someone and making eye contact while doing it. We also find it very difficult to speak to someone when they are wearing sunglasses because we cannot encode their exact facial expression. In other cultures, like Nigeria or Japan, for example, it might be disrespectful to make eye contact with someone. You might be considered rude by making eye contact in those countries, especially if you're talking to someone who's superior to you. Now, as I said, personal space and touching is a big thing between cultures. So, for example, in Canada or United States, the amount of space, of personal space that people expect from you is large because they are not much like our Latin culture is. For example, I have one of my best friends back in Canada. She is from Canada and they are not from like kiss on the cheek every time you greet someone or you see someone. This space that they like to have is most of the time like drawn to strangers, but they still don't have a really close personal space with someone else like, for example, we Latins have. And what I was saying about my friend is that she lived with me 1 year. We were roommates for almost 2 years, so now when she sees me, she knows that I'm gonna like kiss her on the cheek, like hi. But before it was really weird because she was still not used to it. So if you go to Canada and you are from Latin America and you meet someone and you go for the kiss on the cheek, don't be sad, don't feel bad if they are like, because they are not used to it. We are the only ones that do that, I think. And for example, for us, it's really normal to greet someone with a kiss on the cheek, even if it's a stranger, which is really weird if you think it. So the point here is that emblems, facial expressions, hand gestures, eye touch, eye gaze, touching, personal space, all those things are nonverbal behaviors that are very different between cultures, and it's very important for us to understand them and to learn from them, because as I said before, if you are a person that likes to travel, you have to know how people from the country you're going react to some things, how they act with some things, how they behave in different situations. Alright guys, so this is it for today. If you like it, my previous video is the first part of this specific topic about social perception and nonverbal behaviors. I talk about the difference between nonverbal communication and nonverbal cues. So if you like this video, go watch it. I will leave it right here for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.